Only 2 people. You need to move to another table. So we need crowded tables. We're going to get to know each other better, and we need more full tables. So if you wouldn't mind moving to a table that has more people, that'd be great. So we'll have some discussion. You need to be able to discuss with people. Thank you. Sorry, I know you got settled. Is this on? Am I good? Okay.
We got 3 at this table. 3 right here.
3. This is the game session, so.
Oh yeah, she knows how it goes.
Okay, I'm actually going to move back just a little bit. There we go. So I'm just crazy like that. Okay, so I'm Mandy Thomas, and I have an amazing husband, Jeremy, who's a pastor at First Baptist Branson. And I have 3 amazing adventurous boys who are 6, 8, and 10, and a little princess girl who wears dresses all the time and plays in the dirt also. So that's fun. I always thought that I would send my kids to public school. I taught at Branson Elementary 14 years ago, and I just thought it is a great school. I love the administration. I love the people. The teachers are solid. I will send my kids there. And when it came down to the time I could send Kanan, my oldest, to kindergarten, this is really weird. Sorry. I'm like, I've never had flashes while I'm in. Anyway, so thank you. Side angle. Okay, how about this? So when it came down to me sending my son Kanan to kindergarten or not, my husband and I prayed and asked the Lord to tell us, to give us direction. And we prayed about public school, and we prayed about private school, and we prayed about homeschooling, and I just couldn't send him to school. So we started homeschooling 5 years ago. This is my 5th year of teaching him and my 5th year of being in Classical Conversations community also. When I started Classical Conversations, I had no idea what it was. I had amazing friends who steered me in the classical movement, but I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I knew that it sounded very smart, and I wanted to be a part of something smart. Also, the motto for Classical Conversations is to know God and make Him known. And that was their heartbeat, and it was my heartbeat. I want my kids to know God, and I want Him to be known in our home and everything we do. And so that really struck me, and so I gravitated toward this program, and I haven't looked back. And I'm so thankful that I'm there. And don't you love it that we have free choice in America to send our kids wherever we want them to go? There's countries that they have to do what the government tells them to do. And we are so blessed here to be able to school our kids in the way that we think is the best way. So that's a little bit about me. Now we're going to get to know you guys, and that's why I had you break up into tighter groups. So this game is called the name game, and so you actually need to take off your name tag. I know, I'm so hard. Gosh, move. Take off your tag. But we're going to play a game. What is it?
Stop taking pictures.
Oh, I know. Yeah. No more pictures. So this game is where we're going to get into groups of about 10 people. If you have more or less, it's okay. But we're going to get into circles in the back of the room. Not yet, but when I say, you can. And so maybe you have like, it looks like maybe 3 circles. And so maybe a couple over here and one over here. And what you're going to do in your circle is the first person, whoever volunteers, who's brave, they'll say their name first and where they're from. Because I think all of us don't know each other. I mean, some of you were sitting together, so you may know each other, but we don't know you. So I want you to say your name, where you're from, and how it was that you came to classical education. So maybe it was a friend that told you it was a good idea, or maybe you just got a job, hired as a teacher, and you never knew anything about it. But tell us a little bit about you in this circle, okay? So the game, though, is that as soon as everyone goes around the circle and says those three things, your name, where you're from, and how you came to classical learning, the first person who started, who's the brave one, will say their own name. You won't try. You will say your own name. And then you'll go around the circle and you'll try to say everyone's name in the circle without stopping. If you stop at a certain point and you can't go forward, but you know this person's name, too bad. Sorry, you got to stop there. And then the next person will take over and they'll try to say everyone's name. And then we'll go around and see who can guess it, everybody's name in the circle. Okay? So let's get into circles and spread out around the room. Whoever wants to volunteer, go first. You can. All right, so there's some over here. You want to come over here? There you go. All right, someone just start. Someone go first. Okay, about 30 seconds. Y'all need some more, looks like. Here, there's more. Okay, if everybody will make their way back. I'm sorry you don't have enough time. Come on back. Join us at your table. Good job getting to know each other's names. That's so great. Don't ask.
Can we all put our name tag?
Yes, you can put your name tags back on. That's the only game we'll need it to not be on there. Okay, so today we're going to talk about memorization through games, and I hope that some of you helped you memorize everybody's names. Sometimes relating something about the person to their name helps. And if you can think about, what did they tell me just then? I'm having to do this a lot because my husband is a pastor of a church, and there's a lot of people. And so I've made it a goal this year to, when people come through the door, I'm going to know their name, or at least I'm going to try to know their name. So sometimes I'm like putting notes in my phone and saying, this person wore this today, and she said this to me, and it helps me relate things back to their name. So hopefully y'all got to know each other a little bit better. Okay, so the best games that we can play in our classrooms use lots of senses. So if I am playing a game with you, I will be using my sense of touch. I'll also be using my sense of sight to see, and I'll also be using my sense of hearing to hear what is being said. So 3 senses are used in most games. Some games even use more, like if you could taste something, that would be even better. But the more senses that we use, the better we can internalize the message of our instructor. And so according to howtolearn.com, I gave you some handouts that we're going to use in just a second, but howtolearn.com is at the bottom of your paper, and they say using senses allows more cognitive connections and associations to be made with a concept. This means it's more easily accessible to your students, and there are more ways the information can be triggered to retrieve that information in their cognitive learning center, which is their brain. So, be honest, how many of you love conferences? You geek out when it comes to like PowerPoints and handouts. And you're like, I am here. I've been waiting for this all year. Yes, conferences are your thing. Okay, how many of you do not like conferences and it's hard for you to sit there and listen all day long? Okay, so that is why I'm here teaching this session, because it is hard for me to sit and listen and make my brain be on all day. And just think about our students. Like, we love what we're teaching because we've learned it, we've internalized it, and we're delivering the message. But think about students all day learning something new. If you don't have some kind of practical application or some kind of fun way to present material, they are going to tune out. And so I'm here today to show us how to use the everyday materials to make learning more fun. But just in case you didn't know, because I didn't know this until just recently, but the 4 main learning styles on your handout is from the Fleming-Vark model. And if you go to other websites, you'll see that there's lots of learning styles. Some people break them up into 7 or even 9 learning styles. This one only uses 4 basic ones. So we all have heard of terms like kinesthetic. I've heard this term. What does it actually mean? What does auditory mean? What does a learner like that mean? So right now we're just going to get the grammar of these words. The grammar means we're loading all these terms into our brain. And then hopefully throughout the game session, we will use our dialectic stage of processing the information and asking questions and dialoguing with each other. So we'll just go through the handout real quick. So the VARK learning styles, V stands for visual. They learn best when they can see information logically, like in a graph or a chart. So this is actually very helpful for visual people, having something to look at. They can see the information in their mind. If you're just telling them information, sometimes they will start to visualize it in their mind. So if they don't have a handout, they will do that. And they love to draw in color, and they have a good sense of direction and map use. Auditory learners, that's the A in VARC, learn best through listening, and they depend on hearing what is taught. So if what is being taught is not in a logical sequence, they will get lost. So auditory learners process information just by hearing. The information if is in logical order, they can internalize it better, and they like discussions and guest speakers and stories and those kinds of things. Reading, writing learners learn best by rewriting the information. So they love books. They love magazines. They love to internalize all these print. And then they will take those things and jot down notes themselves and rewrite it in lists and ways that they can internalize it. Kinesthetic and tactile learners, this is actually grouped up into one, but it's actually two distinct learning styles, but they're kind of grouped together just because they're more hands-on. So kinesthetic, they really need to move. And sometimes you might think these are your ADD or ADHD kids, but really they just are processing. And so sometimes kids just need to move around. I have a son who loves school if he can do it upside down. So I've had to learn as a mom, I can't put him in a box. If I'm expecting him to sit quietly and listen to me, his mind will still be going like this, like, Mom, I just need to move. Like, I can hear you, and he will be able to repeat questions if he's just able to move his body. So he has helped me learn. I cannot teach all of my kids the same way. And as a teacher of second grade students, I tried to make them all learn the same. Sit down in your seat. Get in your desk. Don't stand up. I told you again, don't stand up. I said that so many times to these children who really just needed to stand at the back of the room and wiggle their toes or something. Like, they just needed to move. So kinesthetic, they need to move. They're often gifted in physical activities. But the tactile learners, they like sense of touch. So manipulatives, models of things that or Play-Doh can help them learn better. So both of these learners, the bad side is that they have trouble sitting still and they lose interest quickly, and they're easily distracted by their environment. So this just really sums up my life a lot, and I didn't know. Just thinking back to all the years that I was in school and how I did not do well on certain quizzes and things because I tuned out. When we were watching a video, I just tuned out, and I thought, but I was a good student because I knew how to study well. And so it wasn't that I was ADD or ADHD, I just needed to process in a more physical way. And so those are the 4 learning styles, and just listening to those styles, do you have any idea where you would land? Because you might not actually just land in one style. I took this test, and you can go online to the websites and find the VARC test, and if you want to take it, you can. It's simple, really quick. But it actually told me that I was multimodal. And what that meant was I was many of them, and I was like, I had to be difficult. I just had to be the one that was like, nope, you're not one thing, you are many things. But if you can just kind of grasp something that fits you, it might help you to see that your students don't need just your learning preference. So we often teach in a way that is more accessible to us, but what we need to realize is that our students are coming from a wider range of learning styles, and if we can remember that when we're writing our lesson plans, then it'll help us to be able to navigate more students in a setting. So as I was talking, that was kind of the boring part of this whole session. Did you simply just listen? You might be an auditory learner. Did you start manipulating the information and turn it into logical flowing charts in your brain? Then you might be a writing preference learner. Did you start doodling or taking notes? Then you might be a visual learner. Or did you not hear anything I just said and you need to get up and move? Then you might be a kinesthetic or tactile learner, and I'm about to get you moving. So when I was, not long ago, I went to a conference, and it was so good, and the information was amazing, and I just thought, why can I not just internalize everything I'm hearing and have it? But I just had to realize, like, I need to go in the back of the room and walk around a little bit, and that will help me a lot. And so that's what I try to do now. Whenever I go sit through a session, if it's a long day like this, I will go to the back. I will just try to do some air squats or something. Try not to distract anyone, but get my body moving so that I can learn the material in the best way. So today we're going to change the norm. We are not going to just sit here. We're going to move around. And my hope is that no matter what learning style you are, that you can take something from the grammar stage of learning all these terms all the way to the rhetorical stage and actually go home and teach someone or teach your students in a new way how to learn some of this fun stuff. I think games are so important because they use all of our senses, and the more senses we use, we can internalize more information. The more that we do that, we're actually accomplishing the goal of teaching, right? We want our students to learn what we have to say. We want them to be able to apply it. If they walk away and hear only 1/10 of what we've said, that is pretty lacking. So we need to be able to reach all learning styles, and then the most effective way to do that is to present it in a wide range of activities. So sometimes just sitting is a good skill. Kids need to learn how to sit still and pay attention to whoever they're listening to. My kids do that in church. I say, you have to sit and listen. They can write notes or whatever, but it's just a good skill to have. So I'm not saying that sitting in a classroom and listening is a bad thing at all. That's one learning style, but there are lots of other learning styles. So why do I have this curtain rod? Some of you may be wondering. This is a curtain rod from my house, and just this week I decided to break it out again because I hadn't done this in a while. But this is for limbo, and you can use this for any activity, any review, math, from math to spelling to science, whatever you're doing, you can use this for limbo. So in classical conversations, we have at the very end of our day in foundations, we have 30 minutes of review time. And we can come up with any game that we want to for our kids to review the material that we've had for them for that week and then 6 weeks prior. So I don't know the restrictions you have on your classes. I was talking to a lady who said she has no idea if her school will even allow her to do any of these things. But these are ideas for you to implement if you're able under the guidance of your instructors and principals. But this is for limbo. I'm going to turn on some music. You can use music or you don't have to. You can just do chants. And I do have a lot of classical conversations things for you. You like my lights? Okay. Well, we can leave them on then. I was going to turn them off so they're not distracting. I would do that for students. I don't want them to focus on the lights too much. But you can do it with music or you don't have to. Basically, it's just a tool to get everybody to remember the memory work. And so I have a song from Classical Conversations called our Timeline Song. And I'm just going to play it. And if everybody will appease me and get up and just do limbo with me, that would be amazing. So come around here and we'll start a line. And we'll go this way, and then we'll just go back around the room. Y'all need to get up and move, right? It's the tired time of day. Oops. There we go. Okay, so we have this timeline song, and it's 12 minutes long, but we are not going to do 12 minutes. So I'm just going to do a couple minutes and just show you how this would work in our classroom. Okay, I'm going to lower it at increments.
Okay, here we go.
Do y'all remember how to limbo? Go under like this? Okay.
You're going to hold it nice.
Yeah, I'll hold it. Woo! And we would sing as we do this. Sing if you know it. Some of you are a part of it. Oh, sorry, it's higher on that side. There we go. Woo!
Empire, creation to circa 450 AD.
Creation and the fall. Yeah!
Flood and the Tower of Babel.
Mesopotamia and Sumer, Egyptians.
3,000 BC.
You don't have to go through it again. Okay. Okay, so I would lower it until, with my kids at home, I did that the whole time. We did the whole 12-minute song, just so that I could see if my oldest son could say the whole thing while I was listening to him. And then I would lower it, and they just thought that was a fun way to sing the song. Instead of just sitting in our seats or sitting at the table, we get the limbo stick out. And I even had it toward the ground when it got really low. They couldn't even go under it. It was like their head wouldn't even fit. So I had them start jumping over it, and then I raised it and see how high they could jump. And so that's just a fun way to review any kind of song.
Like reviewing, I don't know, something.
Math?
Yeah, like math or something.
Okay, so we would chant math facts. So like my oldest son is doing multiplication, so he might say 15 times 1 is 15, and he would just keep going under, and then as he said all of them, he would go around and say them. Or he would say science. We could say, what are the key classifications of living things? And he would have to tell me as he went under the limbo bar.
Okay.
So if you did it per child, you could do different questions, but songs are good because then they can just go. And for our situation, we have a wide variety of ages. So in homeschooling, you have all of your children. Well, all of our children in Classical Conversations is going through the same material. And so my little 4-year-old is actually learning alongside my 10-year-old these things. And so even though she can't grasp all the words, she can say the ones she knows. And then as she gets older, she'll know more of them. But anyway, that was just a fun one. I knew y'all needed to get up and move, so I did that one first. This second game is called Light and Dark. And I have some of SofO's call-outs to do because I knew some of you would be from SofO. And so you can play this game while walking around the room or just sitting at your desk. I usually play it while my kids at Classical Conversations, I have a class of about 8, and they will walk around the room. And whenever I turn off the lights, they will freeze. And when I turn the lights back on, they will start singing or chanting whatever it is we're saying again. And so this is light and dark, and I envision, like, some of you don't have classrooms that are big enough to really move around. And so you could just sit at your desk and have them say the material when the light's on, when the light's off, stops talking, and freeze. And so anyway, I was going to use my flashlight because I knew I wouldn't be able to turn these lights off, but I'll just pretend. Okay, so let's do the first declension, noun endings, and these are our declensions. There's 5 of them. This is the first one. We're going to do this in Latin, and we have a song that we sing with ours. And so this is just as an example, and then I'll do some SofO call-outs too with this. So light on, lights. So this will be my switch. Light on, I, I. And then they would freeze when the light's off. So we'd stop wherever we were, and then I would turn it back on. So they would have to pay attention to lights on, lights off. And it's just a simple, fast way. A lot of times you think games just take too much time. You don't want to prepare for games because they take too long. Well, these hopefully are simple enough where you can pull them out when your kids are looking sleepy. And you can say, hey, we're going to do this memory work this way. So that's why I'm hopefully giving you some tools that are simple and easy. You can pull them out any time throughout the day. And then we have I, arum, is, us, is, and then I would turn the light off again, and they would stop. I would turn it back on, and they would start again, and any material that you want. Okay, so SofO has some call-outs. Let me see if I wrote some down somewhere. Oh, here we go. So, for example, lights on, leave it. Does anyone? Oh. I turned the light off. Okay. God is opposed to the proud. Light on? Good. Okay. So you can see how, I don't know how often y'all are able to practice those throughout the day, but it's a simple way to practice that. And it can be done in a whole group setting. Lots of kids can play this together in a big assembly. The third game is called My Sticks. And I just have a cup of popsicle sticks. And they have either a way of saying material in a different voice, or they have an activity to say the material in a different way. And so I'll go around the room, and we're going to play we're going to do our math facts. So I have these math facts up here. No, I don't. I ran out of time. So we're just going to pretend like there's math facts up there. Oh, it's twos. So y'all can do those. So we skip count twos until a certain age, and then we do the multiplication. So we're just going to skip count by twos. So I'd go up to a student, and they would pick a stick. You don't have to do it by yourself. Don't worry. So crazy face. And so we would all get a crazy face, and we would say our twos in a crazy face, whatever face you want to do. So we go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. And that's the way we stop at 30 because we do by 15s. So you want to pick another stick? Let's do 15s. Okay, you would lead the class in saying it. So students would come up and they would, if it was on the board, they would take my pointer and they would do 15s. Or they could just come up here. If it was impromptu, they could come up here. It wasn't on the board or anything. And they would just be able to lead the class. Some kids love doing that. Some kids don't. They could pick another stick if they wanted to, if they got embarrassed. But these have all kinds of things on them. Hold your nose and say it. Squeak like a mouse. Clap while you say it. Say it while balancing on one foot. Hands on opposite knee. There's silly things in here. And one's like cowboy, robot. You could do something that your kids are really into right now, like, I don't know, what cartoon? I don't know. Say it like, whatever they're into right now. Or say it like a professor. Say it like Mrs. Whatever your name is in your class. Like, say it like me or whatever. So it's just a simple way. It's in a cup. Break it out when your kids are getting sleepy, and they can do it really easily. The fourth game that we're going to talk about is erasing words and repeating. And I'm sure most of you do this in your class already, but just in case. I wrote up here, this is for history. So we're going to learn about the age of imperialism. And this is a song, these group of words are a song that Classical Conversations has created. So we put most of our history sentences, we put all of our history sentences to music. Music helps kids internalize better. You can also move to music. We create motion sometimes. But this is just a simple way to review history in any setting. So even if you don't have a song to it, you can put information on the board and erase some of the words, and then they repeat it, and they try to fill in the words. Okay, so I would sing this song, during the age of imperialism. So I'd write it really fast. The British established rule over India in 1858, and Queen Victoria was declared the Empress of India. Good. Before his assassination. Thank you. And in 1948, Mohandas led the passive resistance movement, which helped win India's independence. And then we keep going. I'd erase more words, and we keep going. Whatever material you're trying to get them to remember. It could be a call out. It could be a scripture verse. It could be math facts, and you just write them out. You erase some of them. They can get louder, or they can get really quiet as you do it. Erasing words, it just makes it more fun than just saying the material over and over. So that's erasing words. And the fifth game I have for you today is called Hot Chicken. And I have 20 minutes. Okay, so I call it hot chicken because this is a chicken. And it's like hot potato. So if you actually have space in your class, you can get in a circle on the rug. If you don't have space in your class, you can leave them at their seats, and then you can just throw it to somebody. So hot chicken is just, I'm asking you a question, and you are answering if you catch the chicken. Now, my son was helping me to practice this, and he said, Mom, you need to make sure that there's no interceptions. Because he would intercept every time. So whenever, with his siblings, if I passed it to little brother Jericho, I would try to say, Jericho, this is for you, right to you. And then Canaan would be like, and he's like, you need to make sure they know, no interceptions, okay? So don't intercept someone else's chicken, So this is just an example, SofO's call-outs, and I'm gonna get some examples from other schools in just a minute. So if you can think of a piece of information that you could tell the whole group here that you're learning, in just a minute I'll ask you for that. So SofO has some call-outs. There's a lot of them. I just wrote some down. Who can finish these statements? To whom much is given? Who can do it?
Much is required.
Awesome. Okay, so that took 1 second to do that. It's a game. It's easy. It's fun. It makes the kids be like in tune. If they're tuning out, they're like, oh, I want to catch the chicken. Here's another one. Give thanks always. Give thanks always. Good job. And she isn't even from SofO. Nice work. Okay, that was hot chicken. We can also go around in a circle. It's, what do you call it when you just pass it? Round robin. So if you're in a circle in the floor or just around the room, you can go row to row and pass the chicken. They can say a piece of information. So if you're having your timeline song, you can have someone start, and then they pass it, and as they sing, they get to hold the chicken. It's not a big deal. It's a simple tool. Okay, fifth game, popcorn answers. Popcorn is when I point or call on a student, and they pop up and answer the question. That's that simple. So, commandments 1 through 5. Thou shalt, and here's the answers on the board. Thou shalt. Nice, thank you for popping up. What's the number 2? Anybody? Number 2?
Not make any grave amendments.
Yeah, sorry, my handwriting's not the best. Okay, number 3.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy.
Thank you. Okay, so that's popcorn. Super simple. Pop up.
Do they all pop up at once? How do you know who's going to pop up?
No, I would say that. I'll call on you. If I point to you and call on you, and I would know all of their names in the class, but I'll call on you and you can pop up and say it. Yeah, so everybody's like, or however you have them. Some of you, I don't know how you call on your students in your class, but raise their hand or stand up maybe and you just point to them. The 6th game is race to the whiteboard, and this game can be used for any kind of math facts you're trying to write, history sentence you're going to have them write down on the board, or today I have 2 maps, and so we are learning ancient geography and history, so I have 2 maps here. So what you would do is get 2 teams, and I know some schools don't like to show as much competitiveness as others, but boys love competitive games. So just appease the boys for a little bit in your class and say, okay, we're going to break this into 2 groups. So like these 2 tables and these 2 tables, and then you would be split. Okay, so 2 teams, and I'm going to have 2 volunteers come up and show me on the map where Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent, Mediterranean Sea, Euphrates River, Tigris River, and Sumer is. And just so y'all know, it's right here. So I would not be able to tell you that if I were not in this class. But so it's right here. So I just want to have 2 people come up and race. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up to this little space, and you would trace that area. You would trace the rivers. You would trace Sumer as a little triangle. Trace the Mediterranean Sea. Because we want their brains to not just think about the word. We want them to look at the pattern. Somehow your brain connects shapes to what you're saying. It can help them remember what they're trying to remember. So, okay, who's volunteering? Adrian, thank you. Mrs. Tolliver, sorry. Hold on, you have to stay in your seat. It's a race. Anybody over here? Want to try? Okay, let her do it because you already know. Okay. She's in classical conversations too, so we'll let you do it. Anybody on this side? Want to race?
Mandy, I'm super competitive.
Okay, Jen. Okay, woo! Thank you, Jen. All right, so you're going to come up and take the one of these maps. You're going to trace it. You're going to come up, take the map, trace it real quick, put your marker down, go back to your seat. Whoever does it correctly, the fastest wins. Ready? Go.
I don't remember all the things you said.
Okay, so Mediterranean Sea,
Yeah, that's really big.
Mediterranean Seahorse,
Oh,
Euphrates
my goodness, I need
River.
glasses, you guys.
Tiger. Oh, good job. And Sumer is the triangle.
Oh, triangle.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. That's all.
The other things?
That's all.
Don't think I got them right.
Nice job. Okay, so if you're doing geography, oh, this is really fun. Y'all did awesome. Look at that. Give them a hand. You can also do math facts this way. You can have them on the board already, or they can write them. Let's do 15s. Okay, go. Just a fun way to do them quickly. Doesn't take too much time. Easy. You have markers. You have a whiteboard usually, or chalk. So it doesn't take a lot of time and doesn't take a lot of materials. Okay. Hot and cold. My kids love this game. It takes a little bit more time, and you have to have something. It doesn't have to be a hot chicken. It can be a marker. It can be a pointer, whatever it is. Hot and cold, just like when you were young, you get close to something and they say it louder. You get further away and they say it softly so that you'll know where to find it. So today, let's see. We'll just do this one. I think that's what I had for it. Commandments 1 through 5. We have a song that we sing to it. So I will hide this somewhere in the room, and I'll pick one student to be the finder. And so I would have all of my students put their head down and close their eyes, and then I would go hide this somewhere in the room. There we go. It's not very well hidden, but it's okay. And depending on the age level of your kids, you might need to hide it harder or hide it not as hard. And so the person who's the finder would stand up, and as they get closer to the chicken, they would sing the song louder. So we would start back here. They would get up, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And as they get closer, not taken to the any graven image, and get really loud as they come to find the chicken. So that's called hot and cold.
Now they're singing louder as they're getting closer, but how do they know where it's at?
I sing louder. And all the students can have their eyes open except if you pick one, and you can say, you will be the finder, you close your eyes. And so if the students know the song, then they can be singing with you, and they would also know where the chicken was. Yeah. Did you have a question?
No, you just said have everybody else close their eyes when you hide it.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Only the person that
Right.
sent out of the room close their eyes. We
Right.
would all know.
And if you have it on a CD or something, you could also use that to do it louder and softer. If it was the first introduction to the song, you could do it that way because the kids wouldn't know the song at that point. But that's called hot and cold. Woo! I have just a few minutes until question and answer time. Okay, so tic-tac-toe on the board. I'm going to erase this real quick. We get two groups, so same two groups that we had earlier. And we will play tic-tac-toe with spelling words. You can play tic-tac-toe with anything, but today we're going to do spelling words because I really wanted to test your brain power. So one of you are O's and one of you are X's. Let's have this half be O's and this half be X's, okay? So we're going to call out spelling words that we're all practicing, and everyone knows these, don't worry. They're not that hard. The first one is trivium. So we're going to spell trivium, and this team can go first. If you get it right, one of your teammates will come up, and they'll put an O on the board. And we'll see which team wins, okay? So let's try it. Ready? Who wants to go first? Come on. It's exciting. I won't give you that hard of one. Okay, Carrie, thank you. How do you spell senses? Like using your senses.
S-E-N-S-E-S.
Good job! Okay, I'll do it for you, but they would come up and do an O. All right, this side. Who wants to try a spelling word? Okay, kinesthetic. No, I'm just kidding. Grammar.
G-R-A-M-M-A-R.
Woo! Woo, nice job. And they would come up and they would put their mark on the board. So they can do spelling, they can do math facts, they can do science facts, they can do call-outs. If they get the answer right, it can work with anything. So that's tic-tac-toe. Some of you may play other games on the board. Okay. I just have a few questions for you for a whole group, and then we can do some question-answer time. What are some games that you use frequently? I call them games. They're really activities. They're really not, some of them are not even really games, but to a child, it's a game because it's fun, and it makes the learning more interactive. So what are some things that you use that you can tell all of us that you use in your class? Yes?
For Shirley Grammar, I teach 6th graders, so they've had a lot of these for a while. So when we classify a sentence, sometimes we'll do the whole class, but other times they'll have to be on their toes because I might call out girls or boys or January through June, and I'll switch it up even in the middle of a sentence sometimes, especially when I can see it's later in the lesson and they've got it down, like we're doing pattern 5 right now. They've got it down pretty well, and so it just keeps them on their toes and they have a little more fun with it, but they're still reviewing how to do it.
Awesome. Okay, so what was the game? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Well, it's just while they're classifying a sentence, those of you who do Shirley Grammar, you ask the questions in response.
Yes.
I may say, okay, girls start, and then I may say blue shirts.
Oh, awesome. And then they start saying it in the middle. I gotcha. Okay, awesome.
Just a variety of things.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's fun. Makes it more interesting. And they do have to listen for what.
Yeah, they have to pay attention.
Cool. That's good. Anybody else? Yes.
I do war with math facts, like take out all the face cards and just play war. And then when we go into multiplication, I manipulate the cards because we're just 2nd grade, so we're going slow. But it's gotten so competitive this year with one class. We actually we do a big tournament. And
awesome.
we have 15 minutes in a day. They are
wow. Awesome.
they're really good at them.
And so for war, they put down a card and the other person puts down a card and they have to say the answer?
Yes.
That times that?
They're divided up evenly and they each flip one over. And they have to do it at the same time or they're kind of cheating.
Right.
They already know it's something times.
Right. Okay, so it would be like ace is 1 probably.
Yeah.
So 8 times 1, and they'd have to say the answer and they get the cards.
Whoever says it first
Yeah.
gets the card.
Awesome. Yes.
We use SWR, and so we play SWR bingo. So when they learn their single phonograms, they have a single phonogram page, and you call out the sound, and they have to find it and identify it on the bingo chart, and then they get a prize after.
Awesome.
And then we have one, I found a beanbag game at Walmart for like $3, and when we started adding 3-digit numbers, they had 3 beanbags and whatever numbers it landed on, they had to add all those up really quickly and tell me their score.
Okay. Does the bingo come with the program? Or do you had to make it?
Like on Teacher Pay Teacher,
Okay.
a blank bingo thing, and then I filled it out really quickly through program. And
Awesome.
then they just use next photo.
I remember doing that. I do that at home with my son too, and I think I just did it on a whiteboard. But yeah, that's a fun way to review the phonograms. Awesome. Yes.
I do around the world math facts where I have a flashcards and I'll sit at the front of the room so everybody stays in their seat. We pick one person and they go to a person's desk and those two stand up and it's a race between whoever answers it first gets to move on to the next. So the goal is to get through the whole entire classroom. If you get beat, then you have to sit down in whatever seat you ended up in. So they kind of get to move around the room. But
Yeah,
it's also
that's
a
good.
competition.
Right. Awesome.
We do that with vocab cards too, the same game.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that in our writing program. Yeah, she had vocabulary. You put it on their head though, right? Or they just had to know the definition. Yeah. Yeah, so you can do it different ways. You can have them guess the word or you could reverse it on them and say, okay, what times what equals this number instead of this times. Always giving the answer, you can have them give the question because sometimes that is a higher level of thinking. What is the question, not just always what is the answer. Anybody else? Yes.
We do some kind of hangman.
Vocabulary or science definitions, or you always try to make it something that we're learning like that week.
Right.
It's very competitive.
I thought about doing that, and then I was like, hangman. I don't know how people think about that, but I mean, it's been around forever. But you're like, your kids are like, what are we doing? Make a man. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And we do Shirley too, and sometimes I have two different groups, but one of them, they love to, we make it a game show. And so I draw sticks, they have their names.
Mhm.
Like, who's the next contestant? And they're all like, I want to be the next contestant. So
Aw.
and then they kind of see who can do it the right way. And so we
Awesome.
get a fun little classifier. You know, we call it Who's the Next Contestant on Classifier.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun. Yes.
So on the subject of game show, I have one of those lights, those battery-powered lights, and you put two of them at the front of the room, and you ask a question to competitors. Whoever hits the light first gets to answer.
Oh,
Or we have
fun.
a bell. We have a bell.
Uh-huh.
You ding the bell, so they feel like they're on a game show.
Yes, that's so fun. So do you number them off, or how do they know which two to?
Well, they have, right now we're sitting in a mirror image of
Okay.
in the room, so we have mirror partners, so you
Oh,
introduce your
good.
mirror partner the first
Okay.
time, and then,
So they just know.
yeah,
Yeah.
just kinda get it.
Awesome. Cool. Yes.
If we're learning or practicing a long passage or memory work, we play every other word. And so we just quickly go and each person has to say the next word.
Mhm.
And kind of a twist from the sparkle game where the next person gets out, the person that says the last word of the passage, the next person, their row gets a point. So you get a point.
Awesome.
You're the next one.
That's fun. Cool. Any other ideas? We're going to take a few minutes to discuss at your table. If there is a subject that you struggle with your kids staying engaged, how can you take one of these games that you learned today and implement it in that subject this next week? So I wanted you to leave with something practical that you could take home. So if there's no other ideas, we'll discuss at your table a way that you can implement a game into something that is not as fun.